All right, what's going on, boys and girls? So, I don't know how well people are going to take this opinion, but I'm a Linux user. I try to be as pragmatic and realistic as I can be with Linux's pros and cons and strengths and why I say it's the best for me. But something that I've noticed a lot of the time is that certain people that promote Linux, I'm not saying which ones particular, but certain bigger people who promote Linux subscribe to it as a one size fits all. We overpromise, but in the experience, we under fucking deliver. So let's take gaming as an example of what I mean by that. There's 13,000 games you can get playable on Linux. About half is native, and about the other half is through Proton and Lutris. Lutris has its own stack. Like I don't keep up with how much they get going, but let's just take Proton. So you got about 13,000 games. What we don't out of that 13,000, what we don't tell and what we don't say is a game like Final Fantasy 15. You can get playable on Linux. There's just a lot of crap you have to do to get it playable on Linux. So we're over promising by the fact that these people that are coming to Linux, when we say, oh, you want to run Final Fantasy 15? You can. We're not lying, but we're over promising on the experience of it running. We don't emphasize the amount of work that you have to do to get something playable sometimes. But that's just gaming. We do it on so many other fronts. You know, video editing, audio editing, productivity app. Take your pick. There are so many areas that we do that in, and I don't think we do the platform justice by doing that, because it sets up the user to have higher expectations that are not realistic for the platform. And to me, that is we're doing the platform a very big disservice by doing that. Again, we're not lying, but we're also not saying that it's going to require some work to do that. Now, if you explain that, yes, you can get, say, Final Fantasy 14 online and playable, totally cool. But if you just simply say that, you're not telling them the truth that there's going to be some work involved to get it to run. And if they're not willing to put in the work, then it might not be the right solution for them. So you're setting your not just the user's experience level up for failure, you're setting them up to fail before they even get going. And that is where we do terrible at. And I hate seeing it. So as an example, all those games that people had seen me do on those Can't Game on Linux videos, those parody videos, those were all recorded on Linux. Those were all played on Linux. And the only thing that I did to enable those to be played, I clicked 2 checkboxes in Proton to get Proton running in Steam. That was it. Everything else did not require any tweaking as far as wine configs or telling the, if you install a secondary hard drive, some games don't understand that, oh, hey, this isn't C drive, so you have to point your SDB over to a D drive that doesn't exist, and it's annoying. Expecting a user to do that is coming to the platform is setting the platform up for failure, the user's expectations up for failure, and the user failing on the platform. And they'll go back to the platform they are familiar with. So we are failing the platform. And that is where I tend to take a lot of issues with a lot of people. So anytime I'm doing any gaming videos, especially specifically when it's Linux related, it is never, ever going to be anything more than Proton enabled, and there's no messing with the wine configs, no messing with Proton, no Lutris, because Lutris is simple as it can be to a Linux user. It is not going to be simple to a Mac or a Windows user 99% of the time. That's just the reality. So you want to sell the really good experiences. For people that do not understand what I mean by that, we suck at selling the user experience on Linux because we have dumbasses and shitheads who promote, oh, go use Gentoo as your first distro. Fuck you, you goddamn conceited motherfucker. Get your head out of your ass. I know it's probably cemented up there because you like the smell of your own shit coming out of your mouth. Take your head, maybe turn it, break some of that cement off, and you might see a different perspective. Because yours is not every computer user. Linux users like to get down and dirty a lot of the time. We like to fix shit. Not every computer user has that mentality, and that's okay. Linux users I equate to mechanics. We like to, you have some people in their house that they'll change the oil, they'll change some belts, they'll do X, Y, or Z to their vehicle, and then they'll have somebody else fix it if there's other stuff. Most Linux users are that fix it at home kind of person to an extent. Most other people, rest of the population, are this weird thing that they just want to put the key in the fucking ignition, turn the thing, and it goes to where they want it to go. From point A to point B. And if it's broken, somebody fix it, not me. And I can't knock that. And the people especially in the community that fucking knock that perspective, do you know every single thing about how to bake? Do you know every single thing about how cars work, trucks work? Do you know everything about internal combustion engines, how to fix a fridge, how to fix a fucking HVAC system? At some point, your answer is going to be no. Because you don't have an interest in it. Reality, not everybody has an interest in computing that same way, as you might not have an interest in fixing an HVAC system. But because you refuse to see that, you only see that perspective. So you set up any user that goes to Linux, you put their expectations up here while underselling how much something might require of them to put into to get the result, unless you decide to do it for them. Again, that's an overpromise and an underdeliver on the experience. I want us to have the better user experience than macOS, the better user experience than Windows. And we can do that by stop overpromising and looking at things as they really are. Just my take.